Good evening, Yorktown. This is Supervisor Matt Slater coming to you live from the Town Hall. It is Sunday, March 29th. Joined here today to my left by Yorktown Chamber of Commerce President Sergio Esposito and Yorktown Councilman Ed Lachterman. We are here tonight to provide an update to you, the public, as we are now in our crossing the first week of being on pause, New York on pause. So we wanted to provide a bit of a comprehensive update and recap, as well as answer your questions. And we'll get to those questions momentarily. The number today for Yorktown is now 83. 83 confirmed cases in the town of Yorktown. That grew. Yesterday we were at 73. Earlier today, Governor Cuomo, who again I applaud for doing such a tremendous job, announced that the state had 59,513 cases, confirmed cases. There were 7,195 new cases yesterday across the state. Westchester County, I spoke with County Executive Latimer today. I speak with him daily, either through text message or over the phone. I heard from him today. Westchester County, as reported by the state of New York, has 8,519 confirmed cases, which is an increase of 644 from yesterday. So we can see the numbers continue to rise. It continues to spread, frankly, like wildfire across the New York state, and specifically New York City and Westchester County. So that list, like I said, continues to grow. If you heard the governor earlier today, the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be our greatest challenge. We're going to see, more likely than not, people we know. It's going to touch all of us in some way. We will all know someone who has it, someone who is home with symptoms, or worse, someone who may lose their battle with it. But this is Yorktown. We will persevere. We will continue to innovate. We will rally together, and we will be there for each other. Again, as I said earlier, we were here 1 week ago in the midst, as we counted down until New York went on pause. That is an initiative put forward by Governor Cuomo that basically does a number of things. The main thing it does is 100% non-essential workforce remains home. Today, again, it is Sunday, so today the governor extended this order to April 15th, which is also the same day that our schools, our schools remain closed, but that's when the statewide lift right now on schools may be planned for. So the two are now coinciding together. April 15th, the deadline for both school closures and New York on pause. Earlier today, and also yesterday, we heard a lot from the federal government about a quarantine. To be clear, and we heard this as well today from the governor and elsewhere, that the CDC did issue a travel advisory, and it echoes what New York on pause already has in place. So there is no quarantine. You still can use our roads if you absolutely have to go out. There's no checkpoints. There's no shelter-in-place order from the federal government. In addition, we also heard Rhode Island. The governor of Rhode Island had issued an executive order essentially trying to track down New Yorkers who may have flocked to Rhode Island. The governor, again, and I applaud him, announced today that that order has been repealed by the governor of Rhode Island. I've said it many times. This has been a very fluid situation, and there has been no playbook written on how to manage it. We have strived here at Town Hall, and we will continue to strive to be an information hub of verified and accurate information to provide to you, the public. So just a few updates since last Sunday. The New York on pause order provided, as I said, a number of different parameters. One of the ones received the most attention was in regards to construction. And again, I say this is very fluid because these things are changing. So I ask that if people do have questions, to reach out to us directly here at Town Hall. Right now, the new clarification on construction work is as follows. And this comes from our legal team. Virtually all construction activity has been determined non-essential with a few narrowly crafted exceptions. These exceptions to the ban are as follows. Single worker construction sites, construction to protect the health and safety of the occupants of the structure, construction to complete a structure if it would be unsafe to stop construction in its current state. Infrastructure, such as our roads, bridges, and transit facilities. Obviously, hospitals and healthcare facilities, construction continues there, as well as emergency housing and homeless shelters. Please note that property maintenance and security are considered essential services. So, for example, having a painter painting and a landscaper mowing a lawn at the same time would not be a violation of the executive order. In addition, social distancing must be practiced at all construction sites with respect to elevators, meals, entrances, and exits. Violation of the guidance, and this is from the governor, violations of the guidance are punishable by a fine of up to $10,000 per violation. And that's specifically, again, for construction work under the New York On Pause initiative. In addition, we have items from our state parks. And FDR Park does remain open, but I want to share the following. Playgrounds, athletic courts, and sporting fields are all closed at our state parks, all of New York State parks. Due to COVID-19, they have closed most indoor spaces, visitor centers, nature centers, and historic houses. Some, but not all, public restrooms will continue to be available. For early season camping, all campgrounds, cabins, and cottages are closed to overnight visitation through April 30th, and New York State has suspended all new camping, cabin, and cottage reservations for the 2020 season until further notice. Again, here in Yorktown, FDR Park remains open. All entrance fees have been waived. Con Edison continues to use parking lot 3 as a staging area, not mobile testing, not building for one of the hospital sites that we're seeing pop up around the state, which are very much needed. But they are there as, again, part of their social distancing protocol, and they are spacing their workforce out across the region. It also does not have any indication of anticipation of power outages. There was also additional guidance on filing unemployment insurance claims. I have a few points that I would like to share. For those who need to file, you're encouraged to visit labor.ny.gov. Again, labor.ny.gov. You can also call the Telephone Claims Center at 888-783-1370. All this information, again, you can always find on our website, yorktownny.org. We have a COVID-19 section, which I encourage everyone to continue to utilize as a resource. But again, if you're looking to file a claim, 888-783-1370. In addition, because they have unfortunately had a very high volume of calls, if your last name starts with A through F, file your claim on Monday. For last names starting with G through N, file your claim on Tuesday. This is for when you call. So if your last name is A through F, call Monday. Last name is G through N, call Tuesday. And if your last name is O through Z, call Wednesday. If you missed your filing day, file your claim on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Also important, filing later in the week will not delay your payments or affect the date of your claim. Again, all this information right on our website. Get some other questions that we've received and information that we want to share. You do not have to wait a week to apply for your unemployment insurance. The governor suspended the 1-week waiting period, which is typically required to receive unemployment insurance for individuals impacted by COVID-19. If your employer closes down temporarily, you should file a claim if you have been laid off from your job. And the state's goal is to ensure benefits are paid to all people who apply and are legally entitled to receive them. And for those, again, I did receive quite a bit of questions and concerns from people who were trying to get through. Again, the call volume has been tremendous, unfortunately. But your claim will start on the day you are separated from your employer. So if you keep getting bumped from the call center, it does not impact the start date of your benefits. Lastly, again, this is just some new information, which I'm very happy to read and inform folks about this one. I've received some folks reaching out regarding labor and delivery. And as someone, again, who just went through this in August, there were policies put forth by certain hospitals that prohibited a spouse or support individual from joining a woman in labor. The governor, and I applaud him tremendously on this, the governor has stepped in and for now, for labor and delivery, and it's not for now, but for labor and delivery, the department considers one support person essential to patient care throughout labor, delivery, and the immediate postpartum period. So one person for those who may be pregnant and expecting will be allowed, one support person will be allowed to join them during that miraculous time. We got a lot of things that I'm trying to cover here, and I appreciate everyone's patience, but there's a lot of information that I'm trying to make sure that we get out there. The presidential primary has been moved to June 23rd. It was originally scheduled for the month of April. It has now officially been moved to June 23rd and coincides with the state legislative and congressional primaries. So we are merging those primaries. The USNS Comfort is expected to be in New York Harbor early this week, bringing 1,000 additional hospital beds and 1,200 medical personnel. Payments, and I always encourage everyone to check with your provider. Payments for life insurance can now be deferred for 90 days. Premiums for property and casualty insurance can be deferred up to 60 days. And again, I just want to stress this again. Check with your provider on these, because the devil's always in the details. But the governor has provided relief in these ways. Mortgage payments can be deferred up to 90 days. There is no residential or commercial evictions during the pandemic. Pharmacies, this was announced today, pharmacies have agreed to offer free home delivery. Again, that was announced today by Governor Cuomo, which is great especially for our seniors. And lastly, from the state level, federal and New York State income tax deadline has been extended to July 15th. Again, the federal and state income tax deadline extended to July 15th. Now I want to transition back to Yorktown, and this is a perfect place for us to do that, because even though the federal and the state income tax deadline has been extended, our local and county tax deadlines have not. And so the county and town taxes are due on April 30th. I want to be crystal clear. The town does not have the legal authority to extend our own deadline, nor do we have the legal authority to waive or eliminate or decrease penalties and late fees. That comes down from the state. And I know I've gotten a lot of questions about this from folks. I've been on multiple conference calls with my fellow supervisors and mayors. We continue to communicate this directly to the county executive and his team, and they fully understand and recognize the need for some sort of relief, and we continue to advocate directly to the governor's office for some type of relief as well. But just to be, again, crystal clear, the town of Yorktown does not have the legal authority to extend the deadline or waive late fees and penalties. So you should be receiving, or will be receiving, your tax bills early this week for both your taxes here in Yorktown. Again, I encourage you to go to yorktownny.org. You can pay your taxes online. You can pay them directly from your checking account, which eliminates any and all fees. If you pay with a credit card, again, being very clear on this, there is a surcharge. That surcharge is not the town's. The town does not charge for that surcharge. That's a third-party purveyor who does the processing of the credit cards. They will charge a percentage. The town does not have the ability to eliminate that surcharge. So if you are paying with a credit card, please know that. You can also mail your checks in directly, or there's a drop box right in front of Town Hall that is checked multiple times a day. You can drop off not just your tax payments, but any documentation that Town Hall, that you need to drop off at Town Hall can go right into the drop box at the front steps. As a reminder, government buildings, all government buildings, Town of Yorktown buildings remain closed to the public. The workforce reduction of 50% ordered by the governor continues. We have employees, many employees working remotely, and if they are unable to work remotely, they are working on a flex schedule. And I just want to applaud our entire staff. Every employee has just been tremendous. Again, no playbook for a situation like this, but everyone has gone above and beyond and continues to go above and beyond to provide essential services for the town of Yorktown. So again, to our entire staff, thank you. We have purchased thermometers. This is new for the town. It's a new town policy. I spoke with the CSEA president about this, our local CSEA president. We have purchased thermometers, and we will be instituting thermometer checks when they arrive for each employee coming to work. That'll be done by a building-by-building basis. Again, just another guard to make sure that no one's walking in with a low-grade fever, and that we're protecting and doing everything we can to protect the employees who continue to report to work. We will also be supplying all town office personnel with gloves who request them. Again, that's those working in offices. As I stated earlier, our parks remain closed, our active parks. Again, ball fields, playgrounds, basketball courts. That's also being done, as I read earlier, by the state of New York. And we will take questions momentarily. But that, again, is being done by the state of New York as well as Westchester County. Our passive parks remain open. Those are our trails. Again, as I stated earlier, FDR Park remains open. I have to say, though, as a reminder, Turkey Mountain is one of those places that, again, is open for public use. I am a dog lover. I'm a former dog owner. But dogs are not allowed at Turkey Mountain. And there have been numerous reports, not only of dogs being on Turkey Mountain, but dog owners not cleaning up after your dogs. It really is inexcusable in my eyes, especially during the times that we're in. As a dog owner, former dog owner, I was adamant always to make sure I had my bags on me whenever I took my dog out. I know that Councilman Lachterman is a dog owner as well. But please, if you are using our trails, again, Turkey Mountain, you're not supposed to have your dogs on Turkey Mountain. And if you go to any of our other trails that do allow dogs, please pick up after your dog. It's unfair, frankly, to the rest of the public who go into the trails to try to avoid any piles of mess. We continue to prepare to implement Zoom in accordance with New York State law. The governor did provide relief with regards to the open meetings law. So we are trying to, and Diana Quast, our town clerk, has spearheaded this for us, and we greatly appreciate it. I'm not quite sure what the extension of the New York on Pause program will have, what that impact will have on its implementation, but we are still continuing to move that forward. In fact, we had our department head meeting on Friday using Zoom, which was interesting and funny, to say the least. All non-essential spending remains frozen for the town of Yorktown. Bulk pickup continues. Again, please, I urge everyone, go to yorktownny.org. We have a coronavirus update page that you can get all this information right at your fingertips. So again, the bulk trash continues. As a reminder, Section 2 is scheduled to begin April 6th. Section 3, April 13th. I know everyone's home, and I know we're finally catching up on our chore list, but please keep in mind, again, we are working with a reduced staff. So the more trash we're putting out, the longer it's going to take our staff to get through it all. And so we ask for your patience and understanding. If you could keep that in mind, we would greatly appreciate it. In addition, I was up there on Saturday. The organic recycling yard remains open. That's at 2200 Greenwood Street. That's open Monday through Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:45 p.m. And I want to thank Highway Superintendent Paganelli for ensuring that it is open. Let's see. We talked about parks. I do want to thank everyone in the public. We have seen greater compliance with regards to our parks, specifically the track at Veterans Field. That does remain closed. I know that when this weekend the weather didn't cooperate, but when the weather is nice, people want to get outside. But the track itself is closed, and I do want to thank the public because they have been responding accordingly, and so I do appreciate your understanding and efforts there. Our takeout pledge, and Sergio, I think you can talk about this a little bit more, but our takeout pledge remains in effect, and that's to support our local eateries and restaurants. And, of course, as a reminder for our first responders, we announced this on Friday with, again, Sergio, Heather Novak of the JV Mall, and Lyle Puente of
Put meat
on your bones. Thank you. Put some meat on your bones. The best grilled cheese. I just call him grilled cheese guy because he's got the best grilled cheese you can find in town. So for all our first responders, you can go right over to the JV Mall and Free Food Friday for all of our first responders.
It's between 11 and 2.
Between 11 and 2. Thank you. And I'm going to continue here real quick. Another item that we need to cover. These are gloves. It's great people are wearing them in the grocery stores when they're going out. I'm going to show everyone, though, that you don't need to throw them on the ground. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration. Councilman Lachman might coach me through it here a little bit. And I know Chief Noble, if he's watching, coached me through it as well.
And we've had about 7 or 8 comments about please clean up after yourselves.
Gloves. You're going to go out, use them. It's fine. It's encouraged. But it doesn't mean when you're done at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, wherever you're going, you don't take them off and throw them on the ground. It's inconsiderate. Frankly, you're breaking the law because you're littering. And third, it's harmful. It's harmful to someone else who may actually do the right thing and pick it up. And the people who wind up picking it up are the people who are in the grocery stores to make sure that you have your food. So it's very inconsiderate, I have to say. But I'm going to provide a quick demonstration for everyone at home. I would encourage you to bring a Ziploc bag. I had a constituent reach out to me today and said, hey, what about bringing Ziploc bags and keeping it in your car? So, Ziploc bag, you're going to take your glove, you're going to grab it on the bottom here, turn it inside out. Am I doing this right, Councilman?
Yep.
Right? Here you go. You're going to put it in your palm, then you're going to take the inside out portion, you're going to pinch the other glove, and you're going to, again, inside out, so it never touches. Now, instead of throwing it out on the ground, on a sidewalk, in a parking lot, here's your bag. Put it in your bag. Ziploc the bag. And now you can discard it properly when you get home in your own garbage. It's really that simple. And I have heard from a lot of people. I've seen it. I drove through the Acme parking lot today. And to see these things scattered around is not just inconsiderate, but it's dangerous. And it really is. So please, let's do our best to act accordingly. And in addition to that, I did speak with Chief Noble before coming on tonight. Again, as I stated, you toss these on the ground, you are littering. That is against the law. There is a fine associated with it. And we will be stepping up our enforcement, not just from the police department, but from our building department as well, and our local code enforcement, to make sure that anyone who does continue to litter, whether in a parking lot or on the side of a street, you will be handled accordingly. Again, there is a fine on the books with the town of Yorktown's code. That fine, we are also looking to enhance, because we're not messing around with this. It's just inconsiderate and frankly disgusting. But on a brighter note.
Just one suggestion, Matt.
Yes.
If you carry a bag of regular gloves with you, make sure you take a magic marker and mark the bag for the dirty ones, just so you don't mix up.
Correct. Yep, that's a good idea too.
In.
Yep. So on to some, as I said, better topics. Hometown heroes. I know these are uncertain times, unnerving times, and they're scary times. But we've got some incredible people in this community. I call them our hometown heroes. And if you're looking for a source of inspiration, you having a moment where you're just scratching your head, and I've spoken to many people in this community, folks who, are having a hard time, frankly, a hard time understanding why it's happening, a hard time coping with the different parameters that are now in place. I thought the governor did a very good job today explaining the fact that it's only been, frankly, just a few days, if you think about it. But when you're feeling that vulnerability, I encourage you, look at our hometown heroes. Look at our frontliners, our doctors, our nurses. I saw some incredible pictures from some of our local nurses over at Hudson Valley Hospital in northern Westchester. Look at our first responders, our police department. We have I think the best police department in Westchester County, hands down. Our paramedics, our firefighters, those people continue to show up when you call 911. They don't care. They care, but they're still coming through that door to help you. Think about our grocery store workers. Think about our postal service workers. Think about our sanitation crews. Think about local companies like Game Sportswear, who were shut down. And they found a way not just to reopen their doors and get people back working, but do it in a way that's going to support our frontliners and first responders by bringing in masks, distributing masks, as well as producing mask covers so that the N95s are more durable. Think about people like our friends at Alliance for Safe Kids, who, again, continue to amaze me because they work diligently to put together this resource guide, a COVID-19 resource guide. And Tom, if you can grab that QR code, it's also linked right on our website, yorktownny.org. Get right on that website. It's an incredible source of information. And that has the link to their amazing, amazing resource guide. But I get it. It's tough. And the biggest challenges are still coming our way. The next 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. But it's not a time for frustration. It's a time for compassion. It's not a time for anger, but for understanding. Now, more than ever, we must come together and show our strength as a community. This is Yorktown. We lead from the front in Yorktown. We charge ahead. We stand together. And we will stand together. We will overcome this. We will persevere. But we're going to do it together. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergio Esposito, our president of our Yorktown Chamber. I know that you have some information regarding the CARE Act that was passed this past week by the federal government and signed by President Trump. So we'll provide some information there, and then we can start opening up the Q&A.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Great.
All right. Yep. So the CARES Act was finally signed into law. I was very optimistic that it would be, and I'm happy that it is. So I have some information. You can get the same information on the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce's website, www.yorktownchamber.org. If you head over to our website, it's under the Our Community tab. There's a COVID-19 update page, which has links to all of this and summaries of the CARES Act, as well as another page for supporting our local businesses, where we have put together not only a list of restaurants that are available, their times that they're open, how to contact them, whether they do takeout, but we've also expanded the list to all businesses that have notified us that they are considered essential and are still open. So the list is comprehensive. We're still working on it. We did partner up with the Examiner News and the Yorktown News. The Chamber footed the bill, and we're going to be publicizing this on a weekly basis in print as well for the next 5 weeks, just to see if we could drive business back into our community and keep everybody afloat. If you want to read the CARES Act and their summaries, as I said, head over to our website, www.yorktownchamber.org. We also, as the supervisor announced, we have Free Food Friday for first responders at Put Some Meat on Your Bones. They're parked in the mall parking lot. The JV Mall reached out to the chamber, asked us if we could join forces with them and pony up some cash so we can feed our first responders. That's every Friday for the next 5 weeks between 11 and 2. Don't forget, as the supervisor had said, take the pledge. And if you have any questions on the CARES Act, reach out to us. If you could email us, info@yorktownchamber.org. We're also thinking about implementing a very small-scale rides program. I'm looking for some drivers. I have a couple already. We're putting the program together for seniors. The program would be local to only Yorktown citizens, of course. But let's get into the CARES Act. The CARES Act was passed. It has 5 parts. It has a health part, distressed industries part, a tax part, unemployment part, and small biz part. I'm going to kind of shuffle through the first 3 parts and get to the part, the unemployment, and speak more about the small business section. It's important to note that the coverage period of the CARES Act is between February 15th and June 30th. So if you have taken out a small business loan from the SBA, and you're wondering how that's going to tie into the CARES Act, because there is money coming for small businesses that could be forgiven, and I'll get into that. It's not too late for you. You can roll that into your CARES package if you do get an SBA loan through the stimulus, and that could be forgiven, but I will get into all of that. It is going to be retroactive. There's a lot of, everything ties into each other, the unemployment, the tax, and the loan program. All right, so let's get into the health. Just to give you a quick, brief synopsis of the health portion. It's going to get more resources into the hands of our providers. It expands access to the care of patients. No patient is going to be denied care. Support for public health response, and it removes limitations for employers and individuals when they face their eligible plans. So what we need to know about it is that it's going to have treatment for COVID-19 patients. That's going to be a priority. The bill it provides over $140 billion in appropriations for our support to support our health systems. The concern and part of the reason why we're trying to flatten the curve is we want to lessen the amount of people that are heading to our hospitals all in one shot. So this way our hospitals can and have the ability to provide the care that the patients need. So if we could slow that down, then we could take care of the people that are really sick and in a more precise fashion. It's got $11 billion to support research and development for vaccines. $4.3 billion is going to the CDC. $185 million is going to support critical access to hospitals. $200 million for priorities like assisting nursing homes with infection control. And then finally, the bill is going to pump new resources into the public health system. All right, it's going to invest $30 billion into a flexible education stabilization fund to help the states. It takes steps to address and supply shortages, and it removes the barriers to allow biomedical advanced research. It's going to unleash the full might of America's healthcare innovation, especially part of that is the telehealth portion, the program that we've been talking about. And it's going to eliminate red tape for employees and individuals. There's a lot more information, a lot more detailed stuff. But that's just kind of like a superficial overview. The distressed industries portion It's going to have a total of $500 billion in emergency relief to distressed businesses, as well as state and municipalities. It provides flexibility for local businesses to team up with local banks, and it reinforces common sense safeguards against abuse. There's actually going to be a person that is going to be appointed as an oversight to make sure that these loans get done correctly and paid back. So what we need to know is it unleashes the Fed's tools to provide liquidity, about $425 billion. It provides loans and not bailouts. That's important because I'm getting a lot of questions about, is this a bailout? It's not a bailout for the larger industries. And it's going to protect workers and not boost executives. The whole idea is to protect the workers, get everybody back to work. If we could get people back to work, if we could get them back on payroll, then unemployment won't be so overwhelmed, and the people that don't go back on payroll will be able to get the money they need through unemployment. So it's kind of all intertwined, okay? Next is going to be the tax summary, something important that people have been asking me about. Workers, families, and small businesses are going to come first. There's going to be checks for $1,200, and they're going to be on their way to American families. They're projecting that it's going to be like the first week of April, but that's not set in stone. And provides vast resources to keep small businesses open. Let's talk about the money for American families. It's going to be a one-time tax rebate of $1,200 per individual and $500 per child. Now remember, this is just in this 8-week period. This isn't like, for the whole year. So I know the amount may not sound like it's this incredible amount, but it's really only to cover, this small time frame. Okay? If you make $75,000 or below, you get the full $1,200 plus the $500 per child. If you are the head of the house and you make $112,500 and below, you get the full $1,200 plus $500 per child. And if you're a married couple, the threshold is $150,000 or below, and again, you get the $1,200 plus the $500 per child. They're estimating that the average check is going to be around $3,400. That's not a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't mean everyone's getting $3,400. Some people may get less, some people may get more. Loosens rules on retirement accounts. It provides another option for employees to keep connected to their employers. It delays payroll taxes, as the supervisor duly mentioned. It restores supports for businesses suffering losses, and it encourages businesses to invest in improvements. They're going to be basing these numbers on your 2019 and 2018 tax returns. Okay, that's our tax summary, kind of in a nutshell. As far as unemployment goes, unemployment is going to include $250 billion to expand unemployment benefits. Unemployment benefits are going to be available for more Americans. If you are a 1099, a gig worker, anything like that, you're going to be eligible for this 8 weeks for unemployment. More money for a longer period for workers. It's actually, I think they're extending it to 13 weeks, and this is a $600 on top of what you're making. So if you're on unemployment now, and you're making $300, let's say, as an example, you're going to get an additional $600 on top of the $300, so that would be $900 a week. That's going to be your unemployment benefit. They've extended that for 13 weeks, not this 8-week time frame that I'm talking. That part of it, only that part of it. And the idea is to get more money in the hands of the people that are, all of us, that are really concerned and potentially out of a job. So it's going to create pretty much a decent amount of cash flow into the hands of all the American people. Most people are going to qualify for that. And lastly is the small business summary, which is something I'm getting a lot of questions on. What they're calling this is a paycheck protection program. That's the idea behind the small business loans. It's going to mean that it wants to keep employees on payroll. And let me start by saying that if you don't have payroll, then you do not qualify for this. You could qualify for other portions. There's SBA loans that are going to be interest-free and tax-free for a certain amount of I think it's a 6-month period. You might qualify for that if if you don't have a payroll. What happens if you used to have, I'm going to make up a number, $100 a week in payroll, and now you only have, and you take out a loan for that $100 a week in payroll plus your expenses. What'll happen is if you have that $100 a week in payroll, the entire loan will be forgiven. It'll be almost like a grant, is what they're calling it. If you're only doing 80% of your payroll, then 80% of the loan that you take will be considered a grant. The other 20% will be converted into a typical loan with a 10-year period, and the tax rate, the interest rate, on that loan will be the rate that you negotiate with your bank, and I'll get into that as well. And so that's how that would work. And most of the interest and the fees are going to be paid for by the Small Business Association. I was on several phone calls with the Small Business Association, the National Association of Small Businesses. I even had a conference call with about 14 other chambers in our area. So, and we're all sharing this information to get it out to everybody because this is important. The bill has extensive debt relief. So if you have your payroll and you're allowed to use the money from your loan for rent and operating expenses and that kind of stuff. Not for vacation, not to go, not that you could go anywhere anyway, but, that's how that's going to work. And the Small Business Administration is also required to enact these programs into regulation no later than 15 days from when the act was signed. The act was signed a couple of days ago. So this is coming. The application process is going to be what the government is going to do is, and the SBA, is they're going to be utilizing approved banks. Most banks are going to be approved. Some institutions are going to be approved. They're coming up with a list of approved. But if you bank around here, most of the banks that you bank with are going to be approved. You're going to apply through them. That's where you're going to get your interest rate. I will tell you that the interest rate is capped at 4%. So your interest rate is not going to be over 4%. If some bank is trying to do that, then that's not part of this stimulus package because they cannot go beyond that. They could go under it, and that would be fantastic. So that's how this is all going to work. You have the Paycheck Protection Forgiveness Program for small businesses, for the small businesses that are keeping their loans. Again, let's talk about hypothetical numbers. You take out a loan for $100,000. Your expenses, payroll, and everything over the next 8 weeks is, $70,000. That leaves this $30,000 portion that will be converted into a 10-year loan, capped at 4%, and something that you will have to pay back. Okay, but only that portion, the $70,000 portion, will be considered a grant. Small business contractors also get protection. I've been asked if I have a 1099 worker, does that consider payroll? I have a quote right from the Act. It's on page 12. And it says, and this is regarding of who's considered a worker, right? A payroll, considered valid payroll. The sum of payments of any compensation to or income of a sole proprietor or independent contractor that is a wage, commission, income, net earnings from self-employment or similar compensation that is in the amount not more than $100,000 in a year and prorated for the coverage period. So the way I read it, and I'm going to get further clarification, is that if you're a business and you have 1099 workers, if you continue to pay them even on 1099, that will be considered payroll, which will be something that will be considered as part of a grant and not a loan if you do go with the SBA stimulus loan. Here are some questions and answers, the frequently asked questions that I got. Again, this is a document. It's on our website. And it's not my document. I'm just reading it to you. But I have been doing extensive research. It says, where can I apply for the Paycheck Protection Program? It says you can apply at any lending institution that is approved to participate in the program through the existing Small Business Administration. Okay? Who is eligible? You are eligible for a loan if you're a small business that employs 500 or fewer employees, or if your business is approved by the SBA, even if you have more than 500. That's going to be most of us in this area. I am an independent contractor or gig economy worker. Am I eligible? Yes, sole proprietors, independent contractors, gig economy workers, and self-employed individuals are all eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program. What is the maximum amount I can borrow? The maximum amount you can borrow is up to $10 million. If you borrowed it on June 29th, it would be retroactive to February 15th. So if you need the money, then there's a rush. If you could hold off and wait out the big push that's going to happen on this, you're not going to lose it. It's kind of like what the supervisor was saying about the unemployment. If you file a little late, you're still eligible from the day that you lost your paycheck. How can I use the money? The amount of principal that may be forgiven is equal to the sum of expenses for payroll, existing interest payments, mortgages, rent, leases, utility service agreements, and payroll costs include employee salaries, up to an annual rate of $100,000 per employee. All right? So I have other questions, but I'm going to turn it over because I think everybody wants to chime in. Councilman Lackerman?
Well, just one question was, is it correct to say $500 for a child under the age of 17? Or 16, is it?
I believe it's 16.
It's under 17, so 16 and under?
I think it's 16 and under is my understanding.
I believe the way you would calculate it, because this is all, and I will get confirmation on this, but from what I understand, if you were claiming them as a dependent, then they're eligible. If you claimed your child as a dependent on your tax return, I believe that's going to be considered eligible. But I will confirm that. I'm not exactly sure.
Councilman, if it's okay, I think we're going to open up for some Q&A.
That sounds good.
So, Councilman Lachman, if you've got questions, throw them up on Facebook. Councilman Lachman will read the questions. The phone is here. Number is 914-962-5722, extension 218. We are here to answer, like I said, you can tell there's just a ton of information, ton of questions that are out there. We're trying our best to be a hub of information and provide you with verified and accurate information to help with navigating the current situation that we are in. So again, if you do have questions, you can throw them up on Facebook. I don't know, Councilman, if we had any questions, or you can call us right here, 914-962-5722, extension 216. Again, that's 914-962-5722, extension 216.
There you go.
Town Hall, is Supervisor Slater. Okay. That would be the part. So the question is, who's responsible for the distancing at FDR Park? That would be the park police. They should not be on the. They should not be on the playground. FDR Park, and I read earlier from the state parks. This is directly from the state parks, and so it clearly states that their playgrounds are closed. So is their athletic courts and sporting fields. So they and the park police should be there to enforce that. Right. Yeah, I would. If you are there and you do see that, if you're at FDR Park and you have something to report, I would call the non-emergency line over at the police station. That's 914-962-4141. That's the non-emergency line. Right. Yeah, the demonstration with the gloves is just for people who are going to discard them, because people are violating the law and littering in parking lots across town, and it's causing a problem. So it was really for those folks. You're welcome. You have a good night, okay? Stay well. Bye-bye. Town Hall, Supervisor Slater. Absolutely. How can I help you tonight? I do. So the comment is about closures being extended to April 30th. I have not. If he's, I know I compete with him on prime time. So if he's just making that announcement now, I have not been notified of it. Yeah. So the question is about safeguarding our grocery stores because of overcrowding. I can tell you that Acme, first off, I think all of our grocery stores at this point have the plexiglass up when you go to the register. Places like Acme have one way for one aisle is for one direction, and then you come back another. I've heard from people that they were enforcing that, which is great. We can look into other parameters. I have not heard of other municipalities putting additional parameters in place to help thin the shopping for volume, but we can definitely look into that. You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good night. Stay safe.
I do know that Home Depot was limiting 100 people in the store at any given time.
Home Depot's limiting 100 people in the store.
Right.
That's good to know.
So, and I think
that's of course that's up to them. I think they're doing that on their own accord.
Yep.
Yep.
A couple of quick questions. First, Sergio, did you find an answer on that or not yet?
Yes, I don't believe if you're retired, I don't believe you would qualify for that check. I think it's for people who are unemployed.
All right. And then there was a question about basically about supply chain issue here, where Yonkers and the Bronx, Riverdale, BJ's are all stocked.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. I don't know. If
I think it depends on the time you go, because the reports that I see earlier in the day seem pretty good. Reports later in the day, obviously, after everyone goes to runs to the store and grabs their items. So I think it thins out towards the end of the day, but I think the supply chain is restocking, obviously, as quickly as they can. I think that it's is it Acme? I think is it Acme that's limiting on certain items and certain.
Well, most places are.
There are limitations that are being put into place so that people can't pick up every pack of toilet paper, which is helping, obviously. But those are not being mandated by the town. Those are being instituted by individual grocery stores and supermarkets.
Correct.
So I just wanted to go over the question for.
So the question was, if someone on Social Security, would they get a check?
So I'm reading the tax summary, and it says money for American families, and this comes in the form of a one-time tax rebate check of $1,200 per individual, $500 per child for those with a valid SSN. So it sounds to me like they would qualify.
Okay.
You have the phone?
Yep.
Town Hall, this is Supervisor Slater. Good, how are you? Mm-hmm. What happens to those people, this is in regards to the stimulus check, if they haven't filed their taxes for this year? What happens?
So they're basing it on your 2019 and 2018 returns.
There you go. 2019 and 2018 returns is what they're basing it on. Thank you, too. Stay safe. Bye-bye. Again, it's Supervisor Matt Slater here live in Town Hall, joined by Yorktown's Chamber of Commerce President Sergio Esposito, as well as my colleague, Yorktown Councilman Ed Lachterman, answering questions that you may have. So you can either hop on our Facebook page, Town of Yorktown Facebook page, and post a question, and Councilman Lachterman can read that, or you can call 914-962-5722, extension 218 and 216, excuse me. 914-962-5722, extension 216, and we can pick up the
Go
call.
on, I'll get the next one.
Town Hall, Supervisor Slater. Great question. So the question's about drive-through testing areas. There are no drive-through testing areas in the town of Yorktown. I've had many conversations with the county executive and the governor's office about the need for one in northern Westchester. FDR was identified as a potential site, but we have not had any final conversations about instituting one of the mobile testing sites there. So right now, the closest seems to be either down in New Rochelle at Glen Island, or over at Bear Mountain State Park has one, but you do need to call the hotline, and I can provide that number. It's 888-364-3065. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Did you call the hotline? Okay, ma'am. Would you give me your name and number, and I can try to help you offline? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I will give you a call, and I can work with you offline on this. Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Okay, so that was a good question. There is no mobile testing site currently in the town of Yorktown or Northern Westchester. Again, I have been speaking directly to County Executive Latimer about the need for one, and so FDR Park was originally identified as a potential site, but we have not had any final plans put forward to institute that. I'm going to grab the phone here, and then you get your next
Sure,
question.
I have a few questions,
Yep.
yeah.
Supervisor Slater. Hi, how are you? Sure. Okay. Great. Perfect. Right. 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 Okay. And what in regards, and again, I'm on the phone with one of our local accountants, and in regards to the seniors, give me that again one more time. Got it. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the information. We appreciate it. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. So that was one of our local accountants. Just a couple of things. Seniors will be getting relief. Of course, it is applied based on the threshold, so $75,000 for an individual, or $150,000 jointly. The age is actually 18 or under. It's a refundable credit, and they do, again, as we stated earlier, use your last filing to provide what that is. So if you didn't file your income taxes, they go back to not just your whenever the last one was filed, they will go find and they will apply it there. You had some questions on Facebook.
Yep, so there was a question if there was anything announced about student loans at this point.
They're talking about a potential deferment of the interest and payments, but there's not going to be, there's no forgiveness on student loans that I've seen.
Okay, another one for Sergio. This is from Clevis. As a restaurant in Yorktown Heights, we were forced to close and not able to open for delivery or pickup.
That's from, I know,
Yeah.
Clevis, yeah, from Hudson Valley Steakhouse.
Hudson Valley Steak.
Yep.
Excuse me. If we apply for an SBA loan, will that loan be made a grant when we reopen and put our full staff back on payroll, or did we need to have our whole staff on payroll from the day we closed?
So no, if you apply for a loan, as a matter of fact, I have some information. If even if you've applied for an economic injury disaster loan, which is something that you would apply through the SBA as well, that loan could potentially be rolled in to the stimulus loan, and that debt be considered a grant. You do have to have payroll. Whatever period between February 15th and June 30th, whatever expenses you have throughout that, as long as you have payroll, and most expenses, some expenses are not going to be considered, but rent, mortgage payments, cost of utilities, operating expenses, when you have payroll, then you have the ability to roll that into and it becomes, as a grant. But, you can't take the loan out and then have these expenses post June 30th. They have to be between February 15th and June 30th. And like I said, you have to have payroll. Now, you don't have to have 100% of your payroll. If you had 10 employees and now you got 9 employees, you're bringing 9 employees back. You're bringing, let's say, 90% of your payroll back. That's not really a good way to look at it because all your employees would have to be making the same amount. Let's talk about numbers. You had 100,000 in payroll, and you're only bringing back 80,000 in payroll. That 80,000 would be considered grantable, right? The other 20,000, since you don't have the person working, that's not considered part of the loan, and that's how it's going to work. So they would give you 80% forgiveness of the loan if you brought back 80% of your total salaried employee, what number you were spending on salaries. It could be 5 people, whatever it is. But it would be 80% of that 100,000 that you would get, and whatever you took out, they would scale it down to 80% forgiveness.
Now, is that based on a full-time employee or part-timers as well?
I think it's anything. It's part-time employees, full-time employees. From what I'm reading here, it's 1099s, it's contractor employees. Anything like that is for these 8 weeks considered payroll.
Right. Oh, the person's
Yeah.
gonna-
Again, so you can post your questions on Facebook, or you can call 914-962-5722, extension 216. If you don't get through, because we have a few people calling, please call back, and we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can. Do we have any more questions on Facebook?
There was a question that looked like someone else answered. With the government stimulus check, do we have to pay that back? I've seen different things, and someone said it's an additional tax credit for 2020 from what we understand, so no payback.
No payback.
So what you do, what that doesn't have to be
Town Hall,
paid back.
Supervisor Slater.
But what's important to note is that the unemployment is considered just like any just typical unemployment. Yes, they are giving you an additional 600, but on top of what you're making as unemployment. But that is going to be taxable.
Correct.
Just like unemployment would be taxable in any given period at any given time.
Right.
Okay, so it's important to note that because
Yeah, that's a great question. So Bauman, were you a Bauman employee? Okay, so I have a Bauman employee on the phone. Bauman has apparently laid off their workforce. So right now, and including canceling their insurance. And so I believe that my hope is that that's until the governor announces when school will be reinstated. I have spoken with our school superintendents about this to make sure they were aware of it. At this point, I think the best case scenario would be to go and apply for the unemployment benefits through the state. But it's again, my thought here is that, and it's just my personal thought. I have no information or anything to verify, but my thought here is that again, it's just a more of a furlough until school. We know when school is going to be back in session. Yeah.
Bauman might consider applying for the SBA stimulus loan, bringing their employees back, and that would include
Hearing
their
surgery
insurance
right now.
expenses.
Yeah, right.
So then now they would be able to bring their payroll
Exactly,
back.
but the issue is that apparently this gentleman's saying that they've already issued a letter to their workforce, and so my recommendation would be to go apply for your unemployment insurance online immediately through the state. You can also apply for health insurance through the state, and then we will, Sergio and Councilman Lachterman, will continue to work with our school superintendents to get to see if they have any information. But again, I don't have any firm and verified information about this particular situation.
Right. Well, their insurance would go to the end of the month, and then they have to be offered COBRA as well.
Yeah, well, whatever we can do to be helpful for you and your family, we are here. We're here to help guide you through the process. I know it's not something that anyone wants to go through, and it's very unfortunate for the workers of Bauman to have to be going through this, especially for many reasons. But we are here as a resource, and so whatever we can do to support you and your family at this time and help you get the unemployment insurance and any medical insurance through the state. That's the best option probably for you at this point in time. Okay. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Stay well, okay? Best to your family. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Now, that brings up an important topic. What happens if I'm a small business and I'm still working, but I'm just by myself because I've already had my employees go on unemployment? You want this loan? Take them back off unemployment, put them back on the payroll,
Then you can get your
and
loan.
then you could get your loan, and it will be considered a grant.
Town Hall, this is Supervisor Slater. Don Grasso's on the phone.
Ah,
Don
Tony.
himself. Tony, how are you? How are you and Jenny? Yep, I understand. Did you state people on pensions would not qualify for the relief?
There is something that all the fees and stuff for if you want to take money out of your pension are waived for this period, but every American with a Social Security number
Is going to get relief.
will get the check.
Right.
Um,
So yeah, I don't think you're precluded if you have a pension. There are fees that will be waived if you want to take money out against your pension. But as long as you have a Social Security number, we're being told from the federal government that you'll be receiving some relief check. Yeah, of course yeah, exactly. So. No problem, no problem. Give my best to Jenny, okay? If you guys need anything, we're a phone call away. Stay well. Bye-bye.
I think
Always
a lot-
good to hear from former Councilman Tony Grasso.
Yep. I think a lot of people forget, people are like, oh, why does someone retired? You know what? People that had money that they've had in stocks
correct.
and all,
Yeah.
and for retirement, they got hit.
Yep.
They took a big hit.
Right now, that's not looking too good for them. But we did qualify that and say anybody with an SSN with a Social Security number.
Town Hall,
will
this
get
is Supervisor Slater.
And at 92, I hope Mr. Grasso's in a little
Good,
bit
how are you?
protected.
I think he wants to go on vacation. Tony, you going on vacation?
Okay. Yes, as long as you have a Social Security number. The question is if someone is lucky enough to be getting paid through their job, as long as they have a Social Security number, they'll still be getting the check.
That's correct.
Yeah, as long as you have a Social Security number, you'll be getting something in the mail from the federal government. You're welcome. Stay well. Yep. Bye-bye. And I see some things popping up on Facebook regarding bulk pickup. You can find that information directly on our town website, yorktownny.org. Again, Section 1 did start March 23rd, but I remind people we're only having half of our crews go out because we were mandated by the governor's order for 50% workforce. So the more that's being put out of the side of the curb, the longer it's going to take. So Section 1 began March 23rd, and they continue to pick up the bulk trash for Section 1. Section 2 is tentatively scheduled now for April 6th, and Section 3 for April 13th. Town Hall, this is Supervisor Slater. You're welcome. Yeah, yep. So the question again is about town taxes. Town taxes, unfortunately, are still due April 30th. We do not have the legal authority, any municipality in Westchester County, they do not have the legal authority to extend deadlines or provide a waiver or waive penalties. That has to be directed by the state government and the governor. So we're advocating for this relief because we recognize there are people who are being financially impacted, obviously, by the COVID-19 crisis that we're in. But right now, the town taxes have been sent, and until we get some relief or direction from the governor stating otherwise, they will be due April 30th. Sure. So any updates we'll provide directly on our website, and you can continue to tune in. I try to provide, once there's new information, we provide that just in a similar format as this, usually 6 o'clock at night. We provide a live update with new information as it becomes available and is verified. You're welcome. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Supervisor, just to clarify, you want to grab that?
No, it's okay.
Just to clarify, Yes, if you are on payroll and you fall beneath the thresholds. For individuals, it's 75,000. For a head of household, it's 112,500, and for a married couple, it's 150,000. If you are on payroll and you fall beneath those thresholds, then you will receive the stimulus check, which is $1,200 per person, 500 per child, and you have to have a valid Social Security number, of course.
And I just saw someone post on Facebook that I guess the president made some announcement about April 30th. But again, I have not been notified by the state of New York or anyone else for that matter that an extension pertaining to our taxes is granted. Again, according to the law, it is granted by the state of New York. So currently, our local and county tax bill, they will be due April 30th. They were mailed out on Friday. We do not have the legal authority to provide an extension or waive late fees or penalties. We've been advocating for that. We recognize the need for that. I've been on conference calls with all supervisors and mayors from the county of Westchester with the county executive and his legal team trying to provide and find a solution on this, and it's something that we continue to work for. Supervisor Slater, how can I help you? Sure. Yeah, so the question again relates to Bauman and the school district. The school district is a separate entity, so I am not aware of what action if the school district had already paid their full contract. That's a question for the school board and the school superintendents. That's not something that we have purview over. Okay, you're welcome. Stay well.
Couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Someone asked that if someone owed child support from 2019, would they still get the check? I don't think that they are going to be looking at child support on this.
Now, the only thing that I've seen when it applies to the business portion of the stimulus is that's the only portion I've seen where if you went and you borrowed $10,000 from another SBA program and now you're getting a loan from the stimulus through the SBA program, they will automatically deduct that $10,000 and roll it into your stimulus program loan. I haven't seen anything along, for the private sector that would do something like that. But, I'm not sure, but I haven't seen anything.
So just as a recap for everyone, Yorktown's new confirmed number of COVID-19 cases stands at 83, as an increase of 73 from yesterday. At this rate, quite frankly, the number seems to be essentially doubling every 4 days in the town of Yorktown. Supervisor Slater, how can I help you? Hey, I'm good. How are you? Sure, absolutely. That's a great point.
Search.
Yep, perfect. Excellent. Thanks so much. Stay well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So that was, so Cherie had a great question about hospitals. I have a call tomorrow with Northern Westchester Hospital executives. They're doing something for all the supervisors to provide us an update. So we will get an update from them tomorrow. I did speak with some folks at Hudson Valley Hospital. My understanding is that from the administration standpoint, basically everyone's in a pinch here, and the hospitals are being stressed beyond belief. If your hospitals are south of 287, that seems to be the line. 287 hospitals south of 287 are dealing with something never before seen. Obviously, they are completely stressed and maxed beyond belief, and that's why the governor, and again to his credit, continues to push for additional sites for extra hospital beds. The Westchester County Center is being turned into a hospital center of 1,000 beds by the Army Corps of Engineers. It's needed, not necessarily right this second, but as we see the numbers increase. I just told you Yorktown's, right? Yorktown's numbers are essentially doubling every 3 to 4 days, and that's just here in town. And if you apply that on a larger scale, you know, we are going to need additional beds. And that's something, again, when you think about, you know, levels of government, obviously that's not something that the town of Yorktown and my responsibilities have control over. That's being directed by the state of New York and also by the federal government. And so, I applaud Governor Cuomo and President Trump because I think they're doing an awful lot to make sure that once we reach that point, that apex, that we do have the needed beds. You know, I've heard from nurses, I've heard from clinical staff, but nothing, frankly, from the administrations. But we will have an update tomorrow from Northern Westchester. I have invited Hudson Valley Hospital Center, and I'll be providing an invitation to Northern Westchester to provide us firsthand briefings, either through Zoom, so they don't have to send somebody physically here. But I do think it's important for us to hear from our hospitals, for us to have an understanding of what they're seeing. But I think safe to say our hospitals are completely stressed right at this point. I do know that Hudson Valley Hospital, the National Guard, did put a tent system up in their courtyard. And so it's very real. It's happening right in our backyards. Like I said, south of 287, those issues and problems and challenges are only growing exponentially. And if you heard the governor today, they expect that wave to be making its way out of New York City and into the Hudson Valley and here in Westchester. So our hospitals are doing all they can to be ready for that apex. Other questions on Facebook?
Yeah, give us a second.
And I see some comments coming over about President Trump and a 30-day extension. Again, we compete for airtime, apparently. But so I have not obviously been notified or seen what the president is saying. But again, we'll catch up with that as soon as we get through here. But I'm only providing the confirmed information and accurate information as we have it right now.
So there was a comment regarding turning some of the vacant properties into hospitals and emergency stations, but that, of course, is a little out of our hands.
That is out of our hands. That's directed by, again, the governor of New York, the State Department of Health, and the federal government. The president approves what those sites are. They are now, I believe, up to 8. 8 sites is my understanding, including the Javits Center, which is supposed to be operational, I believe, early this week. Other questions?
Unfortunately, my computer is acting really wonky right now.
Well, listen, folks, we really do appreciate everyone's time. We are here. Town government continues to operate. You can call me directly at 914-962-5722, extension 200. Again, that's 914-962-5722, extension 200. You can always email me, and I answer emails at all times of night, mslater@yorktownny.org. Again, mslater@yorktownny.org. I also want to point out that I did speak with Councilman Patel, Councilman Diana, and Councilwoman Roker today. We speak just about regularly and daily, and we are going to be having them participate in our briefings this coming week. Maybe not in person, again, maybe utilizing our Zoom capabilities. But we want to make sure, again, that from our standpoint, that local government is a source of information. Use that website, yorktownny.org. There's a ton of information. We update it constantly as we get new information from the state and the county that, again, verified and accurate. And we will get through this. It's challenging. It's unnerving. People are scared. But we're trying to provide some clarity as to what things mean and how it's going to impact you on a daily basis. And I'll take one more call, and then we will sign off tonight. Supervisor Slater, how can I help you? No problem. You get the last question of the night. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. So I'm gonna have Sergio. If you're watching, I'll have Sergio answer your question. Okay. Thanks so much. Stay well. Yep. Bye bye. So, great question. This individual has been unemployed since December and has been actively searching for for a job. She's had interviews lined up, and then obviously this crisis hit. What can she come to expect, and what kind of relief can she expect from the CARE Act?
So I didn't see any provisions that said you have to be laid off between a certain period of time. So I don't believe.
She's still going to get a check. She's
Yeah.
still going to get a relief check.
Yeah, she'll be getting her relief
Right.
check, and she'll also, I'm not sure of what her financial numbers are, but if they are below the thresholds, you'll be getting that check. And as far as unemployment, everyone is getting that additional 600, whoever's on unemployment. So you'll be collecting whatever your unemployment is now that you've been collecting, and plus the additional money that they are giving to all people that are on unemployment. I didn't see anything that said you had to go on unemployment between a certain period of time. Again, I caution everybody, unemployment is great, but, that it's not tax-free, right? So when you file your taxes at the end of the year, just be aware of that. But yes, that's I believe, the correct answer.
There was one question similar that I had on Facebook, which was someone did not understand the concept of if you put people back on payroll and you have the 100% reduction and people can't go into work, how can that be? And I think that that it's to take the burden off of the unemployment
That's correct. That the whole point of it is.
process.
I'm sorry.
No.
The whole point is to get companies to get their employees back on the payroll. One, because when the economy does come back and everything, the switch gets flipped, quote unquote, they'll be ready. They've already been working. They're already on the payroll, and all that needs to happen when the flip is switched up, the switch is flipped. The switch is flipped up, is they just need to get to work the way they normally were. And so the point of that is so this way the economy has this sharp increase, just as it had the sharp decrease when this crisis went into effect. Secondly, the unemployment system is vastly overburdened. They actually even waived the 1-week waiting period for unemployment. So if you go on unemployment, you don't have to wait a week before you can file for your benefits. They are so far behind. They're one agency. They're a big agency.
Yeah.
But Supervisor Slater has commented on it several times. They are completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And again, that leads to, this is all tied together. That's why the SBA loans are going to be originating from your local banks, because the private sector and the public sector are going to kind of team up on that. And that's the point of the whole thing. So hopefully businesses in town and across the country, they bring their unemployment workers back on the payroll, they get their grants, and then we're ready to rebound quite nicely when all of this goes away, and it will go away, as the supervisors pointed out.
Right. But just real quick, I'm just trying to find some information as we speak, but the president did add 30 days to his distancing guidelines. So the federal guidelines will be in effect until April 30th now. And so we will get more information, and I'll provide that information to the public when I digest it and get briefed on it. But in the meantime, I do want to thank Sergio for his great knowledge and information for our small businesses. I want to thank Councilman Lachman for his help. And I, again, want to thank the public, because we are in this together. I said it so many times. This community never ceases to amaze me. We continue to forge ahead. We continue to support each other. And to Sergio's point, and I've said it before, we will get through this. There's no doubt about it. But we are stronger together, and we will stand together against this virus and support each other in this incredible time of need. So with that being said, stay safe, stay healthy, and if there's any new information, we'll be back tomorrow night to provide it to you, the people of Yorktown. Thanks so much. Have a good night.